Hello, home buyers and investors. My name is Dana Albert. I'm a retired Marine Colonel. Worked my way from the bottom to the top. But listen, I'm in Virginia. My houses are in New Hampshire. I've got two college houses for sale. So I can't give you a tour of the houses, but okay, maybe we get to know each other a little bit better. I bought the big house, a 15-bedroom, 6-bathroom Victorian, 1988. I bought a 4-bedroom, it's a farmhouse actually, but in the middle of the university. In fact, both are in the middle of the university. Plymouth State, used to be Plymouth State College. It's Plymouth State University these days. It's getting bigger. It's a beautiful campus, wonderful place to be. A lot of outdoor activities at this school. A lot of hiking, mountaineering type stuff, ski clubs and so forth. Really pretty quaint. I'm 60 years old. I'm 60 and a half. I'm retiring in 17 months. By hook or by crook, one way or another, I'm going to be done. I have to leave my job. I can't sit at a computer terminal anymore. I work for the U.S. government, even though I'm a retired Marine. So I'm in Virginia. I have a business partner who's in Plymouth. He lives in the big house. He's like the den father of all these students. Mostly in the big house, we get a pretty good mix of local students, well, out of state as well, but a lot of foreign students. We get them all. We get them from Nepal, a French girl. We get Argentines. We get them all. There used to be an international house on campus. The school flattened it, turned it into a parking lot. But that's kind of the direction I was hoping to lead this house. That, or maybe turn it into like the ski house, the hiking house. You can go after that niche. You just have to promote it, put stuff on the walls, advertise a certain way and so forth. It could be done. When I was running this house in the 80s, I was earning in the mid $60,000 range. We're talking about the big house now. 15 bedrooms, you can have 16 unrelated people living there, i.e. 16 students. You can put in a manager. Typically, there are a lot of coaches on this campus. They're like assistant coaches, young men and women in their mid-20s. So they're not 19, 20, 21, but mid-20s. And they're survivors. They need to make ends meet. And they're willing to work. And, for example, you give them a big room. Maybe we got one with a private bathroom en suite. And you charge them half rent and let them oversee the house. You're still the owner. You're still the manager. But when some student gets locked out, he pulls a key off the key rack and hands it to him, opens the door, and the kid's back in. If they're running toilets, he tells you about it. You pick up the phone, you call your local plumber, send them in. I usually send plumbers and electricians in, not for one item, but I wait for 2 or 3 or 4. And that could be over a course of months. So I don't have them fix one light. I have them fix the light and maybe a second or third to include an outlet like that. I make the most of the visits. But it's easy to run. I've been overseas since 1988. Oh, probably. I've been out of state or overseas, pardon me, for the duration, nearly. I spent a lot of my 80s were still in Plymouth, but I was in and out of the Marine Corps, a lot of broken time. But so I was earning in the $60,000 range in the 80s when rents were like $1,000 or $1,200 a semester. We charged mostly by the semester. Well, rents have gone up 3.5 times since then. So now semester rents are between a low of $3,200 near campus, and we're adjacent to campus, up to about $4,000 or $41,000. These are private homes and so forth. And they're rented out however the landlord rents them, as a house, rooms, apartments, what have you. Anyway, I bought a big group of these homes back in the 80s and early 90s. I was called the mailman would call me the Baron of Plymouth. I said, I'm not the Baron. There are other bigger landlords. And the postman would say, but you've been here 3 years and you're buying up a large chunk of this town. And okay, that was my principal source of income at the time. I worked it. I was there. I'd get electricians, to rewire an entire attic for $700 back then. You know, today it might cost you 8 or 9,000 for that same job. But so we're renting out the big house typically for around 50,000 a year, you know, for the school year. Again, I was making in the 60s, in the 1980s. We should be making between a minimum of $3,000 per kid per semester per room. We have 15. You could put 2 in a big room, you know. That's $90,000 for the school year. Summer rentals are whatever you can get. Some of the students hang on, but basically it would equate to about $500 a month for summer rentals. My partner doesn't really push summer rentals a lot. I pushed them last summer, as a matter of fact, and we took in a good chunk of money. We had all available rooms rented for all of July and most of August. And then we give them the boot, unless they're staying on for September. We give them the boot probably 3rd, 4th week of August. But so this big house, the Victorian, has modern windows. It's largely rewired. There might be some old wiring somewhere. I'm not sure where. I haven't seen it. We've put fire alarm systems in, pull switches at all the major entrances, exits, emergency exit lights and signs. The main door is open from inside out per fire codes. We've got a recent furnace. Recent is like 4 or 5 years. These furnaces last an easy 20 years, maybe longer. You know, I've got one furnace in my other house is over 100 years old. It used to be a coal burner, and it was converted to oil, and it works. I didn't replace it. I added a new one, a forced hot air one, adjacent to it, but the old one works, you know. But so we got a new oil tank. These tanks are about $2,000, $2,200. The furnace, by the way, $6,000, $7,000 is a typical price. The heat is multi-dimensional. The main heat for the main house, to include a part of the back house, is steam. So it's a steam boiler. We also have a propane heater in the downstairs den in the back of the house. I put it in new. It worked fine. We handed the house over to a sorority back then, and they'd have parties and spilt beer all over it. And the casing itself it needs to be replaced. It's has some rust on it, little dings in it. Either take it off, sand it down, paint it, or just buy a new cover. But the propane heater, the big end item, is functional. It would heat the whole common areas of the back of the house, to include some rooms, because we have some vents going up into a couple of the bedrooms. There is electric heat in a couple of the smaller rooms throughout the house. I'm thinking about maybe 4 rooms. Remember, we have 15 bedrooms, living room, den, 6 bathrooms, kitchen, breakfast nook, dining room. So we have actually very little electric heat. And again, they're in rooms which have forced steam heat, or potentially gas, propane heat, coming up through the walls into their rooms anyway, mitigating the cold. The roof, it's a huge roof. It was so big, we did replace it in sections. We did the back house, the middle of the house, the back of the front house. We haven't done the front of the house. I'm not sure why we did it that way. I wasn't running it at the time. So we still need the front of the front. And the last estimate we got was at $14,000. But so 80% of the roof is redone. So we got new wiring, basically. 80% new. It's a metal roof. Okay, it will last you a long time. Probably minimum 30 years, 40, 50 years. Okay. The furnace and oil tank, new and/or recent. The windows are all modern. You know, the house had all old wooden windows with single pane. Well, they're all modern thermal pane windows. You know, they fold in, fold out for easy cleaning. So with all these rooms, you can make a good amount of money, and we did. But now I've been selling them off one at a time, and typically I'll sell one and I'll whatever, I'll buy a nicer end unit. I'll buy a condo in Boston or down in Miami Beach. So, so these do require your attention. I've been overseas. I was in the Marines in Afghanistan, and one of the campus police would say, "Oh, there's a party at Albert's 23 High Street." Somebody would send me an email. I'd get on my Iridium phone or get on my email, fire one off to the chief of police who used to work for me back in the old days in Saudi Arabia when he was a Marine corporal, and say, "Hey, can you do me a favor? There's a party over at 23 High. Would you mind going over there, busting it up? And oh, by the way, take the names of the kids who live there so I can find them." Okay, so I've run these houses from a distance, not just Afghanistan, but the jungles of Colombia. I spent a year down in Colombia, and I could do it. Now, you do need somebody on the ground, who can open doors for you and so forth. But if you got one property, it's easy. It's really a simple requirement. What else? The house is strategically located adjacent to campus. That means in my backyard is the university. On the let me get it right. On the east side of my parking lot is the university. On the southwest side is the university. The whole corner, there's 4 or 5 houses there, are all college. There's no private residences here. Every house is students. Do they make some noise? Yeah, some do, some don't actually. Some are quiet. There's typically, one house across from us has 3 apartments. Sometimes there are issues, a little yelling at 2 in the morning. But they're all students. They're used to it. In fact, if it's not the neighbors yelling, then maybe it's them yelling. A beer perhaps too many. But look, it's a fun business. I used to maintain an office there with my ceiling fan, New Orleans style, and front porches. This house, by the way, has 2 porches, front and side. The side porch has seen better days. We rebuilt it back in the 80s, the bottom of it. It could be done again, and so you gotta have some vision. You take this old porch, my partner enclosed it with plexiglass or glass to save on heat. I would rip it open, extend it by, 15 to 20 feet in either direction. Give the kids a nice big deck. Put some chairs out there. Let them enjoy it. Give them a fire pit outside. Put some chairs around it. Make it a fun place. Remember, you can get up to $4,000 a bedroom per semester, 2 semesters. $8,000 a kid, a student, for the bigger rooms. We have 5 big rooms, 5 medium rooms, and 5 small rooms. The small rooms, if the place is happening, they'll pay anything to live there. They don't care. They just want a room with a door that closes for privacy. But okay, a small room, $2,500 a semester. Okay, you should get that all day long for a private miniature room. That's $5,000 for the school year. So about 5, 5, and 5. And again, I've got 4 giant rooms. One is huge. I mean, compared to the college rooms, you could put 6 people in one of these big rooms with bunk beds. Okay, but we can't do that. Zoning says 16. But you could put 2 in maybe 2 of these big rooms. Okay, so you lose half your rent on the manager. Okay, so you have somebody, an adult on site, but you make up the difference in the second student in the big room. Okay, and then again, we have 1 room in the cupola. I think it should be an office. Make it an office, and then double up another room. Most students want their own room. They want the privacy. There are some students who want their best friend to live with them, girl or guy. Sometimes it's a couple too, but there are female students out there and male students who come up from somewhere, Nashua or Massachusetts, and they want to share a room. They want to be buddies with their buddy, and that's fine. Put them in a room together. Anyway, I just want to say these are good properties. The 2 I'm talking about right now that are for sale weren't for sale when I bought them. That was what I did. I tracked down prime properties, prime location, with potential. I'd find the owner, I'd contact the owner. They'd tell me in each case they're not for sale, but if they were, they'd want X. Okay? And so I negotiate them. They usually hadn't been updated. As I said, I'd have to do the rewiring in windows, and sometimes horsehair walls would be, falling apart. We'd re-sheetrock right over it with 1/4 inch. That way you encapsulate the old horsehair plaster, and it also acts as a sound barrier and a barrier for, keeping the cold out in the winter and keeping the heat out in the summer. So we've done a lot of that too in the main house. We have parking for the big Victorian for about 15 cars. Now, some students don't have cars, okay? Probably 10-15% don't. We have just one kitchen. Now, keep in mind, most students, I want to say, are on the meal plan. The cafeteria is behind us. If you were running and you're 20 years old, it'd take you about 20 seconds to get there, okay? That's the big cafeteria. If you cross that street, it's the College Union building called the Hub. And there they have more eateries. They got pizza and soup and burgers, fast food stuff. And they got a gym there, and they got a swimming pool. Do they have a pool? I believe they do. Maybe I'm overstating. I don't remember. They got a gym and a basketball court. I believe they have a pool. This is, if you're walking and you're age 60 like me, it'd take you 2.5, 3 minutes to get there. The art building is behind us. We got a dormitory 7 stories high to our west. Yes, our west. So you're in the middle of a university. Plymouth, the town is gorgeous. I mean, Daniel Webster first practiced law there. Nathaniel Hawthorne used to hang out with President Franklin Pierce throughout the White Mountains, to include Plymouth. In fact, Nathaniel, one of my favorite authors of all time, died at the Plymouth Inn, and there's a stone commemorating his time spent in Plymouth there in the Commons. We've had other notables. Help me out. Mary Eddy Baker. Okay, another one. We have Robert Frost, the Nobel laureate. He taught at Plymouth for a time. It's got a lot of good history. Yeah, we had fun there. I also owned some of the restaurants and bars in town back in the day, in the 80s. It was good business. One of my bartenders, he owns my bar, one of my 2 bars, and he owns rental properties from one end of town to the other. And he's younger than me by about 3 or 4 years, so he's in his 50s, and he's still there knocking it out. He's having fun. But if this is something you might be interested in, give me a call. I'm at 617-216-7193. As I said, they can be a house for your own child to go to college. Let him or her be the manager, or just make an investment. I just want to say, even my small college house, the 4-bedroom, which is for sale for $199,000, earns more money than my $800,000 condo. I say 800 because I just sold it, and it sold for like 787. Okay, nearly 800. The small college house earns more rent than the $800,000 Miami Beach, South Beach waterfront new building condo earns. Okay, they're good investments. Okay, you do have to get beefed up insurance. We go, for my small house, insurance would normally be probably $600 a year. Well, I pay about $15 because of the students. But you get full coverage. I've never had anyone come after me. I keep the houses safe, well lit, motion lights. Everything's correct. We keep the steps cleared, sanded, shoveled. You got to just do it right. That's all I got for you folks today. If you want to get ahead in life, you got to take these small risks. If not, you're just a working stiff. I mean, we all work. I still work. I have a young family, a young wife, and a small children. I'm age 60. Everybody thinks I'm the grandfather. I have a good salary with the federal government. I have a good Marine colonel's pension from the federal government. But we blow through these monies, just everyday stuff, It's the college houses, any real estate really, but the college houses not only sustain themselves, but they finance other ventures. I've bought house after house after house off two of my big, war horses, as I call them. They're money-making machines. And if they get a little roughed up, I don't really see it when I'm sitting in the Miami condo watching yachts sail by. Is it happening? Sometimes. I come up in May typically. I turn the workers loose. I say, paint everything white, inside and out. Cleaners clean everything. And I send the cleaning bill or the damage bill to the students, to their parents. They typically pay. There's a small percentage that don't, but then there's the credit bureaus. You report them. They want to be white-collar workers, coat and tie. They're not going to be that if they have blemishes on their credit report, to include if you had to go so far as an eviction, which I've had to do 3, maybe 4 times since 1985. I don't like to do it, but sometimes you just do it. They can be bad sometimes. Most of them are decent. Most of them are good. But if you get a bad crew, that's what you're up against. Now, the rooming house, by the way, you don't rent to 15 or 16 people like a sorority or fraternity, like I used to. You rent to stray cats and dogs, as I call them. A kid comes up, coming in from Colorado, his car's full, and he needs a place by, the next day. He's got money in his pocket, checkbook, and if they don't, they're typically on college loans, university loans. The government, the university disperses their funds twice yearly, in the first week of September, first week of February. They pay the full semester up front. And I usually get them to pay first semester during the summer, however they do it, but by being a waiter, bartender, or cutting lawns. And then second semester, I typically have them pay the first 10, 12 days of September. This way I'm fully paid for those 9 months, and I give them a discount. Otherwise, I could write them a 12-month lease at, $800, $900 a month, and they don't want that. They just want their school term covered, then they bug out for the summer. But it typically works. It's maybe 1%. I have to renegotiate with the kid, and the parents get involved, and somebody cuts a check in the end. I lose less than, 1/2 of 1% in any rents. Not even that. It's pretty fixed. Okay. Anyway, again, I'm Dana Albert. These houses, 2 of them, are in Plymouth, New Hampshire, ski country. I've got the 2 college houses. Soon, probably next year, I'll have a ski house. I have one that I'll probably be listing as well. And I usually sell them myself. If you bring your lawyer in, if you like, have them send us a contract. We give you the disclosures. You give the deposit. It goes into escrow. And within 30, 45 days, you're in. On this big 15-bedroom house, I'll give a second mortgage of $14,000 on a selling price of $199. Pardon me, $299. Okay, that's the big house. That'll help you buy the house. You'll still need to drop down. Well, banks are different. It depends on your relationship with your banker. They want 5, 10, 15% down, 20% down. They've been known to ask for 30%. But if you have any kind of relationship whatsoever with your banker, you can probably do it for 20% down. And I'm giving you $14,000, which is, what is that? That's about 5% as a second mortgage to help you buy the house. Okay? That's sometimes how this works. Okay, folks, that's all I got. Thanks for listening. Hope to hear from you. I can also be reached at dpalbert@yahoo.com. DP, Delta Papa, Albert@yahoo.com. Take care.